Like, comment, and subscribe. All right, so we're back with some more Marry My Husband. The last few episodes for my previous video, Suman and Minwon got married, and it was amazing. They got embarrassed, as they should. Minwon got brainwashed by Suman, or tricked by Suman, manipulated into thinking that Jiwon had been cheating on him the entire time with Mr. Yu, and that it's her fault that he cheated with her best friend, because it's always Jiwon's fault. When those two idiots do something, it's always Jiwon's fault. Because why? Because they're idiots. They're narcissists, of course. But we're going to start chapter 76, Fear Protects the Client. Unbelievable. They came all the way to the subway station just to get in his car in case they get caught at work. Minwon shoved a tiny digital camera into his bag. It was worth following her around, he muttered to himself through clenched teeth, due to the scene he just witnessed. Now, he had procured all the evidence he needed to prove Jiwon and Ji-hyuk were in a secret relationship. Through the tax forms he'd found at Jiwon's desk, he learned her new home address and the fact that it was right next to Ji-hyuk's apartment. You played me. My life was ruined because of you. So that's why somebody was in her computer. I hope she doesn't save her tax forms on her computer at work. But I've come to find out that happens quite often. But anyways, to Minwon, everything that had happened until now was Jiwon's fault. He even thought that it was his fault that he was still section chief while others around him were getting promoted. He was, sorry. He thinks so highly of himself. He was invisible at work. It had been a while since the rumors that he cheated on his girlfriend with her friend and got married to her had spread to the other departments. When he finally got off work, a messy house and Suman's complaints awaited him. Jae-ok said, blah, blah, blah. You don't give me enough living expenses. I don't like that. He didn't listen to her at all, so he didn't remember what she said. However, the ranchless crying at the end was clear in his memory. He thought his eardrums would bleed at this rate. I don't want to go home. He rubbed his ears like Suman's crying was still ringing in them. Just when he decided he was going to the gym, instead, someone lightly tapped his shoulders. Excuse me. Minwon's eyes widened when he turned around. A woman wearing a form-fitting dress with a pretty face, a face that surely made all men's heads turn, was smiling at him. Me? He asked. Yes, you. At this moment, all thoughts of Jiwon were absent from his mind. He swallowed and pretended to be calm as he scanned the woman up and down. What is it? I was hoping we could chat for a while. You have time, right? She asked. Well, I'm not busy, but... Okay, let's go drink a coffee. On me. She was the most forward woman Minwon had ever met in his life. He followed her into a nearby cafe without thinking about what he was doing. The moment he opened the door, it was like everyone's gazes focused on him. He had a difficult time lowering his proud shoulders. At first, I considered sending someone, but I decided to come myself instead in case you got scared. The woman said, getting straight to the point without any explanation. Minwon momentarily forgot his raised shoulders. You know me? Of course, Section Chief Minwon Park, Marketing Division 1. The woman sipped the fresh coffee that was just brought out. Minwon dug through his memories, but he didn't remember the woman, no matter how hard he tried. There was no way he would forget someone as pretty as her. He was certain he'd never He'd never met her in his life. How do you know me? Minwon asked, slightly wary. The woman still had a bright expression. I'm a little interested in Jiwon Kang. I was looking into her, and you came along, Mr. Park. What's she saying? Minwon had a strong feeling this was a strange woman. He burst up from the table to leave right away. Oh my, where are you going? The woman extended her arm to grab Minwon's finger. Her hand was cold and so damp that it almost felt sticky. Ugh. I'm not the person you're looking for. Minwon shook her off and was about to leave when the woman giggled and spoke again. You're going to regret it if you leave now. You're not going to let Jiwon Kang and Ji Hyuk Yu get away with it, are you? Minwon froze and turned around. The woman rested her chin in one little hand and pointed at the sofa Minwon had been sitting on with the other. Sit, she said. It's not something that'll harm you in any way. Her words sounded like the devil's whisperings. Minwon looked between the cafe doors and the sofa for a few seconds, hesitantly, and swallowed. If it's not something that'll harm me, maybe I should give it a listen. He'd forgotten that he'd been similarly scammed into buying stocks in the past. Of course he did. Then introduce yourself first, he said as he sat down and crossed his legs arrogantly. I'm sure you don't need my introduction since you already know who I am. The woman smiled at Minwon. Yura Oh. I'm going to get married to the man living next to Jiwon Kang. Minwon put back down the coffee he was going to drink. The man living next to Jiwon? So you do know, yes? It's Ji Hyuk Yu. It was Minwon's first time hearing this information. Ji Hyuk had a woman? And a fiancé at that? I'm sure this is news to you. I was in the States the entire time. I wasn't worried because my fiancé isn't the type that likes women. But goodness, Yura snorted. Who would have thought he'd fallen head over heels for something like that? Do you think that makes sense, Mr. Park? Minwon became more confused at the way she mixed English and Korean, as well as formal and informal speech. So, Miss O, you're saying you're Ji Hyuk's real girlfriend? When he organized the information in his head, he realized it was good news. A superior who stole his subordinate's girlfriend when he already had a fiancé in the States? Ji Hyuk wasn't too different from himself, who was wrongly framed as someone who cheated on his girlfriend with her friend and married her. Really? Wrongly framed? That's why I came to you, Yura said. You're disgusted by Jiwon and Ji Hyuk too, aren't you? He wasn't just disgusted. He wanted to stomp on them with his feet. Minwon chewed his lip, thinking of how the two of them had walked away holding hands. Get Jiwon off Ji Hyuk, Mr. Park. It's not something I can do myself. She kindly added an explanation. You know Ji Hyuk Oppa's temper. If I get caught trying to remove Jiwon from him, he's going to kill me. It's scary, Mr. Park. Minwon scanned Yura again as he listened to her. She smelled of money from head to toe. She had glowing skin, and all her necklaces and rings were from designer brands. On top of that, her car keys on the table had the logo of a supercar that easily cost more than an apartment. She was extremely pretty as well. If Jiwon or Sumin were next to her, they would probably look like her maids. The exchange will be more expensive then, whether I get paid in money or something else. The corners of his mouth lifted. I don't know why I need to help you. We just met. I won't be getting anything from it. What about this? Yura pulled a white envelope onto the table. What a stroke of luck. I have to pay loans tomorrow, too. Minwon took the envelope and checked its weight. He wanted to open it, but he stopped himself because it would have seemed pathetic. After he took the money, his attention naturally moved elsewhere. That's the initial fee. I'll give you more if you succeed. Then I think we're going to have to discuss things further. Let's go somewhere quiet and talk over drinks. Minwon said, his voice turning softer and more alluring. Yura didn't have any reason to decline. Bars are too noisy. Then, I'm staying at a hotel nearby. Yura's eyes curved in a smile. Let's go there, Mr. Park. Of course. This bitch. We should have known. Though her hands seem kind of scary when he said they're clammy and sweaty. If she's acting like, maybe it's because she's acting nice. Because from what we've seen in previous chapters, she is a little off. So maybe being nice to somebody is like, makes her anxious. Or maybe she just has clammy hands. Anyways. Write it as it comes to your mind. The locations, dates, and times you felt something was off. Ji-hyuk placed a white notebook and pen on the table. You can be wrong. Just write it down, even if you're not sure. Then I'll look over it and review it. Ji-won looked at the empty notebook and lifted the pen. As she filled out the paper, her confused thoughts became organized and her questions became clearer. Why? Why is he doing this to me? She said aloud, the questions circling her brain and escaping her mouth. She didn't expect an answer. She was just speaking to herself. Obsession over something he can't have. Ji-won looked up at Ji-hyuk. What he can't have? People all have lingering attachments to things they can't have. That attachment becomes an obsession. And when this obsession is carried out, Ji-hyuk tapped her notebook with his fingertip. It turns into stalking. Now that she thought about it, Minwon had shown signs of stalking earlier on, too. He would call her again and again when he couldn't reach her. On days she fell asleep early, he came without notice to her apartment and rang the bell. When she was naive, she used to think it was love, but the action suddenly felt revolting. Her hand holding the pen trembled faintly. How horrifying. I thought I was done now. I had Sumin and Minwon walk down the aisle, and I thought all I had to do was enjoy my life now. Ill-fated relationships are relationships too, I guess. It's scary. I can't imagine what he will do. He was someone who was unaffected even after killing his wife of 10 years. You don't need to be. Ji-hyuk wrapped his large hand around the top of Ji-won's hand. Because of her cool body temperature, his hand felt hot like lava. The shaking stopped. Was that the reason why? A thick purple ink stain spread from the tip of the pen onto the notebook. You won't ever be in danger. Okay. Ji-won walked out of her front door about 30 minutes earlier than usual. It was right after the door clicked from the apartment next to hers. Did you get some sleep? Ji-hyuk asked as he looked at his wristwatch. Yes. Did you get some sleep? Not much. Let's go. The man who didn't know how to do small talk gave her a few instructions on the elevator like they were work directions. Starting today, you should go to work in my car instead of using public transportation. When I can't drive you, another car will pick you up, he said. Always keep the battery percentage of your phone in mind. Another car? I've made preparations, Ji-hyuk said, not giving any further explanation. He guided her to the parking garage, and there Ji-won met the other car. Ji-hyuk prepared. Hello, boss. The 4 men standing there didn't look as scary as Sinu, but they still looked tough. They bowed to Ji-hyuk, black cars behind each of them. Ji-hyuk nodded in response. He didn't exactly have the nicest looking face either. It was like the scene from a crime movie. Mr. Yu, Ji-hyuk gripped her shoulders as she tried to subtly back away. He made her stand in front of him. Say hi. This is Miss Ji-won Kang, a new client. The tough-looking men bowed at Ji-hyuk's command. Nice to meet you. We're JN. Oh, hi, Ji-won said, flustered, as she reciprocated a bow. She looked at Ji-hyuk. Her eyes were asking for an explanation. This is Chul-hong Cho, Taeju Kim, Sun-jae Bae, and Min-yu Kim. Please familiarize yourself with their faces. They'll make sure to inconvenience you as little as possible, but there will always be one or two of these men when you're outside of home or work. Jiwon wrinkled her forehead and spoke again. Are they like bodyguards? Yes, they're professional guards. So this is what he meant when he said I wouldn't be in danger. She had a mountain load of questions she wanted to ask. She awkwardly said goodbye to the 4 guards and pulled Ji Hyuk's arm. Let's go now. We're going to be late. All right. When Ji Hyuk and Jiwon set off for work, a black vehicle followed them. Jiwon glanced at the car through a side mirror and spoke calmly. I didn't know you hired security guards. I'll pay for it. Can I cancel the contract after working with them for a month or so? You don't need to pay for it. I'm not okay with you paying for it for me. I just called over leftover guards anyway. Ji Hyuk hesitated a little and sighed. JN Guards, it's my company. Jiwon looked behind her again, and through the side mirror, the car she saw earlier was still following them from an even distance. That company following us right now, it's your company? You work at UNK and work for that company too? Yes. That's why he was always sleeping. Jiwon was amazed. How could he be so perfect at all his tasks when he had 2 jobs? There's kind of a typo there. Aren't you tired? She asked. I am. Even though he was exhausted, he never turned her down when she asked for help. Realizing this, Jiwon felt very apologetic. I'm sorry. About what? I used your free time and was a nuisance. I wouldn't have done it if I'd known. It's a relief you didn't know. He turned the steering wheel and continued, You have to pretend not to know at work. You're the only person who knows. Does no one at work know? Ji Hyuk's lips flattened to a straight line. We're prohibited from having another job. Oh. This kind of prohibition was common at large companies. Who would have imagined Ji Hyuk breaking company rules? Then those men will be protecting me? Jiwon asked. Until we have evidence that Mr. Park is stalking me? If Jiwon were doing this by herself, she would have sued Minwon by somehow finding evidence against him herself, something that would be enough to get him fired. However, Ji Hyuk's approach was different. We're not waiting until then. Is there a reason for you to be so anxious any longer than you have to be? Then Ji Hyuk was nonchalant about his plan. We're going to get him when he gets close. He won't be able to approach you again if his life is threatened 3 times. Fear protects the clients. JN was rumored to hire guards based on how menacing they looked, and this was their official company motto. Oh, shit. Okay, I see. So, Minwon's about to get his ass beat. A real beatdown. I'm here for it, and I cannot freaking wait. That's the end of the chapter. This was good. It's setting up for goodness. We finally got the new character stepping out of the shadows and putting her piece on the board. Ms. Yara O. Causing more chaos. Sumin seems, for right now, just because we didn't really talk about her, I feel like Minwon's about to cheat on Sumin, but we'll see. So we'll see. We shall see. But if you enjoyed this chapter, please let me know what your favorite part was. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. And we'll be going right into chapter 77. All right, we're back with chapter 77. Jiwon Kang's Secret Guards. Okay. Sorry. Miss Kang, I might be mistaken, Hugh Yan whispered, slightly moving closer. But I feel like Parky keeps on staring at you. Do you know how I was sitting next to you in the cafeteria earlier? I saw Parky 3 times, but I made eye contact with him all of those times. It was hardly it had hardly been a few days since Jiwon began coming to work with Ji-hyuk. During that time, Minwon's surveillance had become worse, to the point that others started noticing. Don't worry about it. Hugh Yi's eyes widened at Jiwon's uncaring tone. You know? You know? Doesn't it bother you? Nope. He's probably just obsessing over something he can't have. Wow. Hughie uncovered her mouth with 2 hands, astonished. It was an incredible line. How can my life be saver be so cool with words, too? I like everything about you, Hugh Yeon said. So suddenly? Always. Throughout my living days. Hugh Yeon abruptly stopped her serious confession and looked up. Minwon frantically looked away from behind the partition. See? Just now, too. Jiwon raised a finger to her lips. Shh. Ji-hyuk had told her to be careful, but to pretend not to know. He also said she didn't need to worry about it since Minwon would never be able to hurt her. After hearing that, she wasn't scared of him anymore. In the past, Ji-hyuk's way of speaking felt stiff and heavy because he always only said what was necessary and spoke at a steady pace. However, at some point, that voice had become one of relief and trust to Jiwon. Just as green leaves slowly turn yellow in the autumn sun, Jiwon was slowly being colored with Ji-hyuk's hues. Aww. Jiwon left work with Ji-hyuk that day as well. It was nice that she was comfortable and safe, but she couldn't shake off the thought that she was bothering him. Should we have dinner before heading in? On me, she thought. She would feel less apologetic if she brought him a nice dinner. Ji-hyuk clicked his tongue quietly in response. Slightly embarrassed, Jiwon took back her words in a brighter tone than before. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just asked because I wanted to eat something tasty. Let's go next time. I'm overwhelmingly busy these days. Ah. She felt more apologetic now. Ji-hyuk almost always felt left immediately after dropping her off. When she heard the sound of the lock closing from next door, that meant Ji-hyuk had returned after finishing his other work. The problem was that she heard the sound in the middle of the night at the earliest and dawn at the latest. I'm sorry, you must be tired, but of all the things I do, caring about you is the least tiring. Okay. You smooth motherfucker. The words Ji-hyuk said in his impassive, and stiff voice nudged the inside of Ji-won's fourth left rib. It's throbbing, strangely. Oh, girl, that's your heart. Ji-won pressed her chest, but had she pressed too hard, her heart was beating faster. I bet it was. Ring, ring. The alarm clock noisily signaled the arrival of morning. Ji-won turned it off and got up without the traditional muttering of asking for just 5 more minutes. Let's see. Kale, carrots, apples. Ji-won pulled out the ingredients she'd rinsed the night before and put them in the mixer, pressing the power button. She figured it was better to make juice for Ji-hyuk instead of stealing his time for a meal. Not bad. The juice was actually quite good. Ji-won moved the liquid into a pretty bottle and drank the remainder of her breakfast. Ding! Just when she was cleaning up the mixer, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ji-hyuk. I'm leaving first today because of a business trip for JN. There will be a car waiting for you in the parking garage, so leave with that. I'm taking the day off from work today. Ji-won carried the bottle of juice to her front door as soon as she read the message. She planned to give it to him as soon as she heard the sound of his door opening. 5 minutes passed, then 10, but the door didn't open. Weird. She couldn't wait around for him when she needed to get to work too. She just took the juice and pressed Ji-hyuk's doorbell. Ding dong! There was no response from inside. Had he already left before sending the message? Ji-won ruefully turned around with the juice. Just then, Pang cried from behind the shut door and scratched at it. Meow! Meow! Pang, what's the matter? Meow! Meow! Sorry. Pang cried more desperately upon hearing Ji-won's voice. He scratched at the door faster, too. She'd never heard Pang cry so shrilly before. Hang on, I'm going inside. The code, 0227. She thanked the heavens that she still remembered the number Ji-hyuk had taught her. Ji-won excused herself and clicked the 4 buttons on the door lock. Pang, she called. A pair of men's shoes were laid neatly at the entrance. Pang stepped over the shoes and strolled to the living room, then looked at Ji-won. He seemed to be telling her to follow him. Meow, meow. Ji-won took her shoes off and followed the cat. What's wrong? Meow. Pang took Ji-won to the master bedroom. A small stream of light leaked through the blackout curtains to reveal a massive bed. Ji-hyuk was laying primly on the bed. Primly on the bed, despite saying he'd be leaving first. Mr. Yu? It was strange that Ji-hyuk was still in bed at this time of day. At this time of the day. Strange still that he hadn't gotten up even though someone had entered his house. Worried, Ji-won approached the bed and observed his face. Mr. Yu, are you all right? Hearing her, Ji-hyuk's eyelids opened halfway. Ji-won Kang? He murmured her name like a groan and raised his hand faintly to touch her cheek. Ji-won flinched in surprise. It wasn't because Ji-hyuk had touched her, but because the temperature against her cheek was extremely hot. Mr. Yu, your hands feel like a ball of fire, Ji-won said, her voice lifting frantically. Brought to reality by the sound, Brought to the reality by the sound, Ji-hyuk removed his hand from her cheek. His eyes refocused. Miss Ji-won, why are you... This isn't the issue right now. When she touched his forehead, it was hotter than his hand. He also had been sweating so much that his hair was all damp. You're alone like this? I can't believe you. Ji-won didn't even realize that she was being angry as she dashed to the bathroom. She urgently pulled out a towel and splashed it with water. When she returned, Ji-hyuk was struggling to get up. It's fine. I'm just a little tired. You'll die if you're any more tired, Ji-won shot back firmly. She pushed his shoulders back down. Ji-hyuk wouldn't even have budged under normal circumstances, but he was forced back in bed at the strength. Ji-won didn't know, but Ji-hyuk left home in the middle of the night and returned when it was time for her to wake up. He took her to work and drove her back home. And then he barely changed his clothes before leaving to take care of JN business. Even someone as unwavering as him would get sick moving 20 hours out of 24. I'm really fine. You don't... Ji-won covered his mouth with the wet towel. Be quiet. Ji-hyuk turned quiet like an obedient dog. Ji-won took advantage of the silence to carefully wipe his face, neck, arms, and hands. The cool towel became warm from his fever. Do you think you can get to the hospital? She asked. After some rest? We need to lower your fever first. Do you have a fever reducer, like Tylenol? Ji-hyuk faintly shook his head. What kind of home doesn't have emergency medication? Ji-won yelped angrily again and stood up. There was probably some pills in her medicine cabinet. Hang on, I'll go look for some at my apartment. Miss Kang. A large, hot hand weakly clasped her own. Just a little longer. Please stay. The unspoken words could be felt through her fingers. She hesitated for a while and then sat on the corner of the bed, holding Ji-hyuk's hands. Rest a little more. I'll bring the medicine later. At that, Ji-hyuk sighed quietly in relief. His eyes were still closed. Soon, his wide chest began to rise and fall rhythmically with that. Ji-hyuk's breathing became slower and at ease. Ji-won sat there for a while and listened to the sound. What should I do about work? She quickly answered her own question. I'll skip. She was already late. She had no intention of leaving a sick Ji-hyuk alone to go to work. After checking that he was deep asleep, Ji-won tiptoed back to her own home. She called Joran and pretended to be sick, then dug through the cabinet to find a fever reducer. However, when she found them, they were already expired. I'll have to go to the pharmacy. Ji-won threw the medicine out and stepped into the elevator. The pharmacy was located next to the entrance of the apartment. She ran inside and purchased everything within her reach. Fever reducers, pain relievers, and even some digestive medicine in case Ji-hyuk had an upset stomach. She felt urgent. What if Ji-hyuk got up and left for work while she was gone? He was definitely capable of doing something like that. Ji-won! She was running with the bag in her hand when she spun around at the strange sound. There was no one there. She must have been hearing things because she was so high-strung these days. Who is that? Who is that calling her name? I hope it's one of the guys in the car. Because did she forget that she was supposed to be riding with them to work? Miss Kang said she was sick with the flu. She's taking a sick day, so I hope you all understand, Joran said loudly. Ji-won was very hardworking and was never late, so all the employees were concerned for her. All except Min-won. Ji-won? Sick? She doesn't even sniffle in the middle of the winter, but she just happens to be sick on a day Ji-hyuk isn't here. I wonder what kind of bullshit they're doing together. All kinds of thoughts spun through his mind. He was so furious that the words on his screen became blurry. They must be going on a damn date. I'll catch them in the act. He put down his documents and stood up. I'm going to meet a client. Because he was invisible, no one asked him which client he was going to visit or when he was returning. He effortlessly left the office and immediately headed for the apartments Ji-won lived in, parking his car nearby. Of course, he didn't have the card key to enter the apartments. He decided to sneak in when someone scanned their card and hid in front of the complex at the entrance. Huh? Min-won narrowed his eyes. It was Ji-won. He watched as she hurried inside a pharmacy, looking decidedly unsick, and ran back out after a couple of minutes. Ji-won! Urgh! Suddenly his mouth was blocked by a thick hand when he attempted to follow her. He tasted iron from his split lips. Oh, shit. He was being dragged by a scary strength. The other person dragged Min-won into the emergency stairs of the complex like he was some hunted boar. Whew! Finally, I can see this damned face up close. Click! And the door locked. The man who'd came in after Min-won clasped his hands behind his back, all smiles. It was the first time Min-won saw someone smiling so viciously. Do you know how much work I did because of you? I've been waiting for the day to do something about your balls. Taeju, let him go. He must have something to say. The man named Taeju removed his hand from Min-won's mouth. His thick and massive palm had blood on them. Who are you guys? Are you the mob? Fuck! I'm going to report you to the police. The man smiled more widely. Do the police seem like neighborhood fools who come when you call? Taeju gripped Min-won's shoulders tighter from behind. Our other... It was the pain of his bones being crushed. Fearful of the fact that his shoulders might be pulled out if he moved, he froze without thinking of attacking back. Why are you doing this, sirs? His tone automatically became polite after feeling the overwhelming power difference. You've been chasing around our miss these days. Miss? Sir? Yeah, miss. The man suddenly slid his face up to Minwon and began to shout. What's a man with balls doing following a lady around? Are you a dog that picks up and eats shit? Well, even dogs don't bite if they get beat up. Yes, sir. Hold the dog tight. The man named Taeju clenched Minwon's shoulders. Minwon didn't know if he was hearing things, but he thought he heard a crack from his right shoulder. All right, and we're on chapter 78. The kiss was blunt, crude, and hot. Mr. Yu, can you get up for a moment? Ji-hyuk barely managed to open his eyelids. It felt like someone was pressing them down. Through the blurry darkness, he could see Ji-won looking down at him concerned. Ji-won was wearing a flowing house dress. Her face glowed even without makeup, and her slightly tousled hair was tied back loosely with a rubber band. Her thick glasses slid down the bridge of her nose. It had been a while since he'd seen her like this. She was beyond beautiful. His head throbbed like it was going to crack. His entire body hurt, but his heart still beat fast, especially in this situation. Miss Kang? He struggled to sit up. Ji-won held out 2 white pills to him, a fever reducer and vitamin. You'll feel better if you have this and get some sleep. What about work? I took a sick day. Is work really important right now? Why is her scolding tone pretty too? Ji-hyuk took the warm pills into his palm and stared at Ji-won. Here, have some water too. Ji-won was holding out a cup of water when she frowned. Why are you looking at me like that? Ji-hyuk slowly blinked. Now he could see Ji-won even better. She was just like when they'd first met. Ji-won had her hair in a ponytail, wore glasses, and she was frowning. Because you're... He cut himself off. Ji-hyuk tossed the pills she gave him into his mouth and gulped down some water. When he resumed breathing, after taking the pills, he took in a faint scent. He filled his lungs with the scent. He continued speaking again, slowly breathing out. You're too pretty. This time, Ji-won's heart beat faster. She frantically touched her face and was appalled by what she found. Her hair was sticking out in all directions from last night's sleep, tied sloppily up into a ponytail. Her thick glasses were dirty. What was most appalling was her oily face. She hadn't even washed it yet. Her glasses were sliding down her nose from how slippery it was. In the past, she would have cared less how she looked, but right now she was so embarrassed that her face turned tomato red. Ji-won whipped off her glasses and covered her face. Don't look! Ji-hyuk flinched at the intense reaction. Miss Kang. Hurry up and lie back down if you're done taking the pills. Hurry. Ji-hyuk laid down obediently, not knowing what was going on. Ji-won pulled the sheets up to cover his face and shut the slightly open curtains. When the stream of sunlight, the only light source, disappeared, the room was sunk into complete darkness. Miss Kang? Ji-won fumbled to find the edge of the bed with her hand and replied casually, Yes? I can't breathe. Is he saying he can't breathe because I'm so pretty? Her face was hot as Ji-hyuk's fever had spread to her. She intensely fanned her face. Don't joke around, Mr. Yu. I'm not joking. I didn't wash my face, my hair's a mess, and I'm wearing my glasses. Of course you're joking when you say I'm so pretty that you can't breathe. Jiwon was surprised that she could speak so quickly. Ji-hyuk must have been surprised as well because he fell silent. Then he started speaking again. Actually, you are pretty, but I said to stop. Can I pull the sheets down now? Sorry, oh, she gonna be so embarrassed. I can feel it. I understand. Okay. It was an extreme relief that it was dark. If not, Jiwon's flushed and oily face would have been revealed to Ji-hyuk in all its glory. You didn't pull them down yet. You didn't say to. He didn't look like someone who would be, but Ji-hyuk was needlessly good at listening to instructions. Jiwon found the corners of the bed and pulled them down a little. She could hear Ji-hyuk exhale vehemently. Are you okay? She asked. I'm not sure. How's your fever? I don't know. Let me see. Their surroundings were pitch black. Jiwon relied on her senses and fumbled to find Ji-hyuk's face. Her fingertips came into contact with something soft instead of a hard forehead. While Jiwon tried to identify what part of the body this was, Ji-hyuk reflectively got up and grabbed her hand. Thump, 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 thump. Someone's heartbeat pounded loudly. The room was still dark. It was impossible to see, so their senses of smell and touch became sensitive. Jiwon stopped breathing when she felt Ji-hyuk's heat, his faint trembling, and his thumping heartbeat. I have to push him away. Contrary to her resolved thoughts, her body froze. It felt like Ji-hyuk's breathing had become a rope that wrapped tightly around her entire body. His breath turned heavier. Jiwon knew he was moving closer, even though she couldn't see him. I have to push him away. I'm going to push him away. I am. Jiwon repeated the same thing to herself. As if he read her thoughts, Ji-hyuk stopped moving. Why? I'm going to push him away anyway. Why isn't he coming closer? Wasn't he going to kiss me? Suddenly, her thoughts escaped her mind. Aren't you going to kiss me? Before she could push him away, something hot and soft covered Jiwon's lips. The kiss was blunt, crude, and hot. Her mind melted stickily like chocolate at the unfamiliar warmth. Jiwon opened her mouth a little to breathe. As she did, Ji-hyuk dug deep into the space and licked her every corner. Her lung capacity was reached. When Ji-hyuk paused for a moment, Jiwon pushed his firm chest as hard as she could and retreated. I'm sorry, What do I want to say? Jiwon covered her mouth with one hand and stood up, rambling. I'll take my leave. If you get sicker, call me. Jiwon bumped into various corners of the room before managing to find the door. She didn't even have the mind to stroke the meowing pang. Slam! The front door shut. When she returned home, Jiwon immediately ran to her bed and buried her face in it. Crap, crap, crap! She had gone wild. There was no other explanation. She wasn't going to trust men again. She swore not to love again, but she liked the moment when she couldn't push him away. When she couldn't push him away. Wow! Yes. I mean, so respectful. I mean, she basically gave him the okay. Aren't you going to kiss me? That's basically like, kiss me. She was so positive she was going to push him away. And girlie, you just kind of convince yourself, okay? It didn't work. She had bodyguards? Yura scoffed. Minwon could only hear her voice, but he could picture her seductively crossed legs shaking in front of him. He swallowed and then raised his voice haughtily. There were two of them, and they suddenly covered my mouth, so there was nothing I could do. I could have ended the guy if they'd only been one of them. If there'd only been one of them. Coward gangster bastards. I see. Yura's voice turned contemplative. There's no way a 9-to-5er would have hired gangsters. My oppa must have gotten them for her. Don't call him that when you're talking to me. Just say Ji-hyuk. Why are you so jealous when you have a wife? Are you going to get divorced if I tell you to? If you want me to, of course. You're all talk. Yura giggled, still pleased. Anyway, Ji-hyuk is also a 9-to-5er. The last time I saw him, I noticed he has a nice car too, Minwon said. Just how rich is he? He must have lucked out with his parents. Not exactly his parents. The fact that he put guards on Jiwon meant they weren't going to split up easily. Yura pulled out the card she'd been saving as a last resort. You can say it's thanks to his grandfather. He's, pretty rich. Jiwon paced her living room with a bottle of juice. She hadn't received any messages from Ji-hyuk. Not yesterday, not last night, nor when she woke up. What should I do now? Do I still go to work with him every day? How do I look him in the face? What's our relationship now? She jumped in surprise at her last thought and slapped her own cheek. What are you thinking? No, you weren't thinking that. That was a mistake, an accident. A relationship? Get a grip on yourself, Jiwon. After she slapped herself a few times, her already flushed cheeks turned even redder. She should have skipped the blush today. She heard the sound of Ji-hyuk's door closing. She stopped pacing and her ears pricked up. Tap, tap. The sound of men's shoes stopped in front of her door. Jiwon was more nervous than when she was watching a horror movie and clenched the bottle tighter in her hands. Ding dong. It was time. When she looked through the intercom camera, Ji-hyuk looked expressionless as always. He didn't even look sick. Jiwon pressed the button with a shaking finger. Yes, she said. Are you ready? Yes, heading out now. Jiwon put her juice in her bag and walked out. What's going to happen will happen. Ji-hyuk glanced back at her from where he was waiting in front of the elevator and pressed the down button indifferently. Good morning. Yes, it is. He was so nonchalant that she wondered if yesterday's event had been a dream. He even felt colder than usual. How are you feeling? She asked. Fine, thanks to you, Ji-hyuk answered, his gaze fixed on the elevator. Jiwon was taken aback. Her pride was hurt. He's not affected by what happened in the slightest? Did he kiss me impulsively because of the dark atmosphere? Or was he confused because he was sick? It was uncomfortable. She couldn't take this awkwardness with her to work. I'm 37, kiddo. How dare you try to play someone older than you? Jiwon stood tall and called for Ji-hyuk. Mr. Yu? Miss Kang? Jiwon said her name at the same time, too. Go ahead. You can go first, Mr. Yu. Ding! The elevator arrived. Ji-hyuk got on first and pressed the button to close the doors after watching Jiwon step in. Yesterday was a mistake. A mistake? A mistake? Jiwon's voice became high-pitched from how absurd she was feeling. A mistake? I got up in the middle of the night yesterday over this, so that's why they say you should never trust other people. It was a mistake. Yes, a big mistake. Jiwon was flabbergasted as he reiterated his statement. So, why am I so angry? Why is my pride hurt? Jiwon stood taller and chewed the inside of her lip. You don't need to apologize. It was my mistake for not knowing you're someone who mistakenly kisses women. I don't make those kinds of mistakes. The elevator door opened. Ji-hyuk usually matched her pace, but today he walked in front of her. He stood in front of his parked sedan. Ji-won's mood turned for the worst, feeling like she was being completely disregarded. You're not coming? Ji-hyuk asked when she stopped some space away from the sedan. Ji-won walked with the intent to finish things here. Her heels clicking on the floor, she glowered at him, challenging him. Do you have about 5 minutes? Yes, I do. Then let's talk. Nervousness flashed across Ji-hyuk's eyes now that she could see them up close. Gaining more confidence, she lifted her chin with the most composed expression in the world. We should forget about what happened yesterday, right? Ji-hyuk furrowed his eyebrows. Forget? Yes. What does that mean? Yesterday was a mistake. Since it was a mistake on your part and my part, we should just forget about it. Ji-won stopped her confident and composed speech when she saw Ji-hyuk's face. His expression was stiffer than ever. He didn't seem angry, though. Rather, he seemed hurt. He looked like a soldier who'd lost his country or a CEO who'd lost his company. I'm saying we should pretend it never happened. When she collected her bearings and finished, Ji-hyuk palmed his face, pretending as if nothing happened. I read that incorrectly. When she collected her bearings and finished, Ji-hyuk palmed his face and said, pretend as if nothing happened. Is he agreeing with me? Or is he thinking? Ji-won looked at him confused. Ji-hyuk put his hand down and spoke solemnly. Is that possible for you? Pardon? Never mind. It doesn't matter whether it's possible for you or not. What's he saying? Ji-won frowned, feeling silly. Ji-hyuk turned and walked forward to open the passenger seat door. It wasn't to help Ji-won in the car as he always did. He bent over, and when he turned around, there was a colossal bouquet in his hand. It was so big it could cover Ji-won's entire body. It was a mistake sending you away like that yesterday, but I can't pretend it never happened. Yesterday, we definitely kissed. When Ji-hyuk held out the colossal bouquet to Ji-won like they were work documents he needed her to take care of. Oh my gosh. We're in a more special relationship than just Mr. Yu and Miss Kang. Wow. Oh my gosh. How awkwardly adorable. Of course, that's the end of the chapter. That was so funny. I totally, you know what? My mind was going exactly where Ji-won's went. I'm not even fucking lying. I was like, wow, okay. You gonna kiss me like that? Get my engine revved up and then act like nothing happened? Until the absolute last moment when I'm ready to chew your ass out. That's so funny. Well, we get it. We know why. He does not have very much dating experience. But we know he's excited as fuck. We know he was excited as fuck. When they kissed. We knew. But still, I thought he was going to be businesslike about it and then confess later. He's like, nah, we kissed, we going out. You my girlfriend now. So cute. So fucking cute. Okay. And the fact the bouquet is that big is hilarious. Okay. She's going to have to take those inside. She can't be having those at work. Anyways, let me read some of the comments. That kiss, perfection. Especially the way he paused for permission and the love their combo at the end. It's just so typical them. I need more. Why are we kissing sick people? Because Ji-hyuk really is terrible at communicating. You can tell he's never been in a relationship before. Yes. Yes. Okay. I've thought about it for a while now, and I'm certain. Ji-hyuk is autistic. The need for rules, the difficulty with expressions and emotions, struggling to interact, wanting to avoid people staring at him, especially girls who he thinks he's attractive, the specific cleanliness needs with the strict routine, hyper focusing on the needs of a single thing, Ji-won's safety and happiness. He's absolutely 100% autistic, and I love that. Okay, Ishtar. Okay. Oh, these two poor socially awkward people are adorable. But that's the end of chapter 78, which was amazing. I didn't know who was going to be kissing. I kind of thought it was going to be Minwon and Yura getting it in, but I'm happy that it was Ji-won and Ji-hyuk having their first kiss, and basically him professing his love for her, or that they're going out. Hopefully the next chapter starts with us getting her response. But I don't know, because the next chapter is called Ji-hyuk's Ji-hyuk-yu's identity. But if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment your favorite part of this chapter, and I'll be back with chapter 79. Oh no. Hey, it's Ashley, and we're back with some more Marry My Husband, and we're reading chapter 79. Ji-hyuk's real identity, or Ji-hyuk's identity. Whew. Ji-won's thoughts froze at Ji-hyuk's sudden actions. She mindlessly gazed at the flower bouquet. The dizzying flowery scent tickled her nose. When was the last time someone offered her flowers? The pointless thought spun around in her head and then flew away. Do you not like the flowers? Ji-hyuk asked her the question while still holding out the bouquet. He really looked like a puppy, a Siberian husky observing its owner's mood after bringing over a toy. Ji-won was held by his gaze. She almost stretched her hand over before quickly putting it behind her back. It's too sudden. I'm not ready to date someone yet. I never said we should date. Ji-hyuk's voice was 5 times firmer than hers. When you need help or when you're bored, just think of me. Call me and don't apologize for it. When you find a nice restaurant, let's go together. When a new movie comes out, let's go watch it together. When the weather's nice, let's go on a drive together. Ji-won's hand, which was hidden behind her back, fidgeted as she contemplated what Ji-hyuk said. It was strange. Don't people usually call that dating? She asked. If we kiss one more time, then we're dating, he said. Otherwise, just think of it as us spending time together. It's like going on a drive. The choice is yours, Ji-won. Ji-hyuk seemed to be pressuring her to date by suggesting different activities to do together, but he gave her the choice in the end. Did I really want to push Ji-hyuk away yesterday? Do I want to pretend nothing happened? Was I really just using him when I depended on him all this time? Okay. She wanted to know more about this adamant man who was firm like a tree. Let's go on a drive. Jiwon pulled out the juice from her bag with one hand and accepted the bouquet with the other. The bouquet was almost too heavy for her to carry. Jiwon split the colossal bouquet into a smaller bouquets and then placed them around her house. The scent tickled her nose and heart, no matter what. When she dragged her exhausted body home and stepped inside the front door, when she entered the living room, when she opened the bathroom to take a shower, and when she collapsed in bed. They smell good. Ready to sleep, she turned on her side and looked at the vase by her head. Thanks to the subdued lighting, the white flowers shined even softer. Meow. Pang jumped on the bed and rubbed his body on Jiwon's face. He wanted her to look at him, not the flowers. Jiwon giggled and pulled him down the sheets so Pang could come inside. Bzz. Her phone had a call. Hello? What are you doing? I just got in bed after showering. Pang is inside my blankets. Ji-hyuk's voice was muffled by the sound of chatting men. Sorry, I missed what you said. I apologize. I'm finishing up in the field. After he was sick, Ji-hyuk didn't come in past midnight as much anymore, but he was still busy. He didn't even listen when Jiwon told him he didn't need to take her to and from work every day. You're getting off work? Jiwon asked. Yes, thank you for looking after Pang. I'm Pang's mom. Of course I'll look after him. Ji-hyuk chuckled. It was nice to hear. Good night. See you in the morning, he said. Yep, drive back safely. Pang curled up in a ball inside the sheets and yawned. Jiwon rubbed Pang with one hand and fell asleep looking at the vase. 4, 5, 3, 2, 1! Hugh Yeon's tiny, solemn voice boomed at the end. Good work today, everyone. I'll see each and every one of you at the barbecue restaurant. Today was the day Joran's parents were throwing a feast for the employees. Hugh Yeon had been excited the past few days at the prospect of having meat, and the other employees seemed to be looking forward to the dinner as well. Jiwon fixed her makeup and stood up with Hugh Yeon. You're going in Mr. Yu's car with Miss Yu, right, Miss Kang? Joran asked. Hugh Yeon replied cheerfully in Jiwon's steed. Yes, we'll help serve the food if we get there early. You're going to say you'll wipe the grills at this rate. You want me to wipe the grills? I have enough strength to go around. Oh my, you should save some strength even if you have a lot of it, Joran told her. It won't last forever. The employees all joked with each other and left work in high spirits. Jiwon was also in a good mood today. She didn't particularly like company dinners very much, but today was different because it was for Joran's promotion. The fact that Minwon wasn't on the list of participants only added to her lively mood. Joran's barbecue restaurant was bigger than Jiwon expected. It was 2 stories with a spacious parking lot and a cozy back garden. The owners, Joran's parents, came out to the entrance to greet the visitors. Welcome. We meant to do this for our princess's colleagues sooner, but we got around to doing it so late. Please help yourselves and dig in. Mom, I said not to call me princess in front of people. Joran's face flushed and she slightly shoved Yeon-suk's shoulder. My words exactly. Our princess is all grown up and has become a manager, so we can't keep calling her princess, can we? Dad! Joran's face turned even redder when Dong Pal spoke boisterously in his apron. Anyway, enjoy and have lots. We prepared special meat for our princess. Manager Yang's colleagues. Joran was so embarrassed she didn't know what to do. She had a bad feeling that she might be called princess starting tomorrow at work. Let's head on in. Everything's ready. Oh, honey! Joran's husband appeared at the perfect time. Their relationship had improved since he started working at the restaurant. This is my husband. Because I'm the only daughter, he decided to help my parents and my steed. Joran said, introducing the man who'd quit his perfectly fine job to laze around all day, and then was forced by her parents to switch out grills at the restaurant. Jaehyun Lee, please take good care of Yeonji's mom. Jaehyun's self-introduction was curt compared to Joran's. After greeting Joran's family, the employees began to seat themselves. Joran moved quickly on her feet, delivering plates and cooking meat. Since they were eating for free, the employees tactfully served themselves. Hugh Yeon and the other younger employees raised their tongs and scissors. No matter how much the times have changed, it was still the younger employees' duty to cook meat at company dinners. Mr. Yu? Jiwon held out her hand towards Ji-hyuk, who had lifted a pair of tongs, like he was about to challenge the societal tradition. I'll cook the meat. I'm doing it. Just eat. I'm offering because the employees might get indigestion at this rate. There were 3 employees below the section chief level at the table that Ji-hyuk and Jiwon were sitting at. Ji-hyuk was already hard to speak to under normal circumstances, so the other 3 sat there anxiously, dripping in sweat and unable to tell him to stop cooking. It was pitiful. Don't eat too much to the point of getting indigestion, he said. Is he tactless? Or is he just pretending to be? Even at Jiwon's dissuading, Ji-hyuk continued to put thick pieces of marinated beef on the grill. He flipped them over and cut them into appropriately pieced pieces himself. Jiwon had been to countless company dinners with Ji-hyuk, but today was the first time he was cooking the meat. Why is he acting out of character? Jiwon fidgeted uncomfortably and took some helpings from the side dishes. As Jiwon helped herself, a few pieces of well-cooked meat appeared on her plate. All cooked. Have some before they burn, Ji-hyuk said dryly as he distributed the remaining meat. Jiwon's plate had the most perfectly cooked and well-sized portions of meat. The other employees had slightly inferior pieces of meat, and Ji-hyuk's own plate had slightly burnt or edge pieces. Realizing the difference, Jiwon chuckled to herself. She wondered why he was suddenly acting this way, but it seemed like he wanted to give her the nicest cut of meat. It was a cute gesture, but no one would ever imagine when they saw his height and bulk. Everyone, allow me to serve you a glass today as well, Hugh Yeon shouted energetically, holding 2 green bottles in each hand. Hugh Yeon bowed respectfully as she poured the employees the alcohol. Most of the employees accepted. Jiwon also accepted quite a few drinks. Enlivened by the clamorous atmosphere, she felt a bit dizzy. Was it because she drank too fast? Excuse me. She stood up and headed for the back garden so she wouldn't make any drunken mistakes. There were a few chairs and a table in the corner to quietly rest. Phew! Jiwon plopped down into a chair and took a deep breath and eased her drunkenness. Rustle. And then she heard a nearby sound. It had come from a dark part of the corner where Jiwon was. No light reached that area. Minwon. Her heart thudded at the automatic thought. She realized a beat later that Minwon wasn't there. He had declined to participate in today's company dinner. Soon a man appeared from where the sound came from. When he saw Jiwon, he bowed awkwardly and initiated the conversation. Oh, how was the food? It was Joran's husband from earlier. Was it Jaehyun Lee? Delicious. Thank you for treating us to this, Jiwon replied, also slightly bowing. Just then, she saw a woman quickly passing behind Jaehyun. The woman wore a navy apron from the restaurant and came out of the corner Jaehyun had been in before disappearing into the building. It must be the smoking area. Jiwon didn't think too deeply of it. Please help yourself and let me know if you need anything, he said. Thank you. After exchanging their polite greeting, Jaehyun also disappeared through the back door. About 3 or 4 minutes passed while Jiwon got some air. I should head back now. She pressed her temples with her thumbs so her dizziness would dissipate. Rustle, rustle. Someone stepped on leaves and stones as they approached Jiwon. It must be someone coming to smoke. She didn't think too much of it and lifted her head. The person stopped in front of her. Jiwon Kang? All the hairs on her body raised. He said he wasn't coming. He marked on the list that he wasn't participating. You didn't bring the damned gangsters with you this time. Is it because it's a company dinner? Or maybe Ji-hyuk didn't get those gangsters for you anymore? Minwon mocked in a low voice. The damned gangsters he was talking about were probably the guards Ji-hyuk had assigned to her. When did Minwon see them? How did he know they don't follow me at work and that Ji-hyuk hired them? Was it just a guess? Go inside if you're here for the company dinner. Don't talk to me here, Ji-won said, attempting to speak casually as she stood up on her trembling legs. I came to talk to you, though. Minwon moved in the same direction and blocked her path. Looks like things are going well with Ji-hyuk these days. You look brighter. Why is that any of your business? How is it not my business? My life was ruined because of your schemes. What kind of nonsense are you trying to say now? I'm just saying we should talk. You won't look at me in the eye at work. You block my number, and gangsters follow you around outside of work. It's harder to speak to you than the president. Jeez. Ji-won regretted not bringing her phone. Ji-hyuk would come if she pressed the call button inside from inside her pocket, right? What do you want to say? She asked. Wow, so shameless. You would have been a sight to see if we got married, huh? The smile that had seemed handsome when she was naive only made her gag now. Just get to the point, or I'll unblock you so you can text me. The grin disappeared from his face. Break up with Ji-hyuk. Ji-won was speechless. We aren't even going out. What does that have to do with you? She asked. Just answer me. Are you going to break up with him or not? I have no reason to answer your question. Move aside. She didn't want to play along with his paranoid speculations. She stepped aside to avoid him, but he moved closer to get in her way. How much do you know about him to be so desperate for him, Ji-won? I'm going to scream if you don't move. You're going to scream, thank you, because what I tell you. Minwon slightly bent over and moved his lips to her ear. Ji-hyuk already has a woman, and not just any woman, but a fiancé. It was an obvious lie that could easily be made up, especially with Minwon's intellect. So what? Of course that shouldn't bother you at all. Minwon snickered and lowered his voice even more as he said, but that punk is quite an incredible person. The media will have a field day when they learn he cheated on his fiancée with a work subordinate's fiancée. And that's where we ended. I knew his ass was about to pop up like a motherfucking evil ass pimple. Stank ass. Stank ass Minwon. Let's see what some of the top comments are. They're probably dogging Minwon, just like me. Ji-hyuk was adorable. Okay, he was adorable. I'm not to the comments yet. Ji-hyuk was so adorable. He was adorable at the end of the last chapter, but he was adorable at the beginning. And cooking the meat for her and giving himself the worst pieces. That's funny. Okay, let's see. What balls does Jaehyun has to cheat on Joran at her parents' restaurant? Okay, that weird. What balls does Jihan have to cheat on Joran at her parents' restaurant? That's way better. Jiwon should kick him in the nuts and bolt back to Ji-hyuk so his guards can get Minwon like a fish. Can gut him like a fish. And how dare that Jaehyun cheat on our princess Joran? Right, I forgot about that part because it was so brief. Jiwon should have screamed at the instant she realized he was there, and Joran's husband is cheating. Yeah, girl, he cheating. Subordinate's fiance? Hello, you're already married, you fucker. I mean, you're right. I really wish we had the next chapter already. Really nervous about what Minwon might do to Jiwon now that he's got her alone. Use your super special Jiwon sense and get out there quickly, Ji-hyuk. But that's the end of chapter 79, Ji-hyuk-yu's identity. Chapter 80 will be coming right after this. And it's how Suman screws Yura over. Not surprised. I'm not surprised they'd be bumbling and fumbling all over each other. Alrighty. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video. Bye. It's Ashley, and I'm back again with chapter 80. It's getting good, y'all. How Suman screws Yura over. If it'll load. There we go. The media will have a field day. Someone had to be so esteemed by the public to get on the news with the nerves with a mere scandal. It was a high price for Ji-hyuk considering it was coming from Min-won. Regardless, Ji-won decided to collect information. How am I supposed to decide about him if you speak like that? I need to know what's going on to consider breaking up or not, she said. I see you're still a fool, Min-won snickered. That bastard is Chairman Hanol-yu's only biological grandson. Ji-won unwittingly clenched her jaw. Hanol-yu? It was a name that all UNK employees knew. He cultivated a farm on a desolate land with only weeds and transformed it into South Korea's largest food production company. Additionally, he was the chairman of UNK Group. You know Chairman Yu is infamous for being merciless and strict, don't you? Min-won asked. So you know what'll happen if this scandal becomes public. That punk will lose the successor position due to having a scandal when he was supposed to be learning the trade, and you'll be fired. Your face will be known, and rumors will spread all around, so you won't be able to get hired at another company either. Also, it's not like that punk will marry you. His fiancée is a rich, glamorous woman from a good household. What's he doing with you is just a fling. If you're lucky, you'll get some money after sleeping with him a few times. Some millions won at best. When Ji-won stayed silent, Min-won continued with his nonsense, thinking it was working. I was going to announce the scandal right away, but I'm warning you because of my old affection for you. Get rid of the bastard immediately. If you do, I won't blow things up. Okay, I see you, mister. What was real and what was fake? Ji-won looked down and recalled her past before she died. Ji-hyuk hadn't returned to the company before she died, and that had been a whole 10 years. If he wasn't going to succeed the chairman, would he have stopped working for all those years? She'd also never heard of him getting married either. If he had a fiancé, he would have gotten married within those 10 years. Ji-won stilled her resolve. If what Min-won was saying was true, Ji-hyuk was going to leave the company anyway, and he wasn't going to get married to his fiancée, whether he had one or not. Do whatever you want. Release it to the press or protest in front of the company building. Min-won's face crumpled at her unexpected reaction. Don't you understand what's going on right now? I understand everything, so do whatever you want. Hey, Ji-won. It's been a while since I stepped out from the party. My boyfriend will come if I come to find me soon. Ji-won did her best not to cower and acted composed instead. She was a bit stiff, but Min-won didn't notice. He gritted his teeth. Sure, enjoy the present, but soon you're going to be abandoned by Ji-hyuk and be begging on the streets. Leaving behind a version of the common villain line, it isn't over. Min-won quickly scurried away. Team Rocket blasted off again. Okay, sorry. Ugh, another call. Suman wrinkled her face when she saw her phone screen. The noisily buzzing device stopped and began to ring again. It was already the 5th call. Suman surrendered at the unyielding explosion of calls and flipped her phone open. Yes? Why are you answering so late? She was greeted by a burst of annoyance as soon as the call connected. She gets annoyed regardless of whether I answer early or late. Myung-suk Lee had never once affectionately said her daughter's name on a call. I answered late because I'm busy. Why'd you call? You're so nice to your mother, Min Young-suk grumbled. I need money. How much can you give me? I don't have money. I gave you some last time too, Suman screamed as she stomped. Money, money, money. When sober, Min Young-suk called Suman. It was always to talk about goddamn money. I'm going to get surgery because my back hurts, you wicked wench. Do you want your mom to die? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have married your dad. How can you treat me like this? They say daughters take after their fathers. Are you going to throw me aside like your dad and live happily ever after alone? Whenever Suman shouted once, Myeon-suk shouted 10 times. Did I tell you to get married to Dad? I don't have money. I feel like I'm going to die because I don't, Suman shot back. Even if you don't, I'm sure your husband does, Myeong-suk said. Whatever, I'm calling your husband. That was the final straw. Suman felt the back of her neck turn cold. Why would you call him? I'm about to die, so who else would I call if not you? Your husband, of course. No. How much do you need? See? So you do have money, and you're not just acting up. Myeong-suk's tone softened a bit. Not much. Just 2 million won. 2 million? Suman shrieked. 2 million won? What? You think I would have called to ask you for 200 won? Why would I have that much money? I use a credit card for living expenses, and I spent everything I had saved up from work on the wedding ceremony. If you don't want to give it to me, just say so. Whatever. I'm hanging up. Myeon-suk was going to call her son-in-law for money then. If he said no, she would turn to her other in-laws. Realizing what she was planning, Suman frantically stopped her mom. Wait, I'll give you 2 million, okay? Huh, it's so hard to get 2 million won. But this is really the last time, Suman said. Don't ever call me again. Of course. I won't call you again. I get to go to the hospital when I need to because I have a good daughter. Daughters are the best, Myeon-suk said, adding a few awkward compliments at the end before she hung up. 2 million won? It was a relief it wasn't 5 million won. The envelope hidden deep inside Suman's closet for emergencies was all the money she had. At least I have 3 million won left over. Suman tried to think positively and stood up to open the closet. When she opened the smallest drawer and pulled out her underwear box, there was a white envelope with familiar words on it. To Suman from Jiwon. Huh? Suman's hands trembled when she gripped the envelope. The envelope that should have been thick was too thin. This can't be. Suman hurriedly opened it and turned it upside down. 150,000 won bills should have rained down. However, not even a single speck of dust fell out when she shook it. No, my money! Where is it? Where is my money? She dug through her underwear drawer, the sock drawer beneath it, and even her clothes drawers. But there was no cash. A couple of 100 won coins clanged and rolled beneath the bed, and that was it. Beep, beep, beep. She heard the house's keypad being pressed. Soon Minwon entered, exuding the smell of alcohol. He frowned when he saw Suman. Look at the state of this house. You're home all day and you don't clean? Did you take it? Suman narrowed her eyes at Minwon. I'm already feeling like shit. Bro, you're making my blood pressure go up? Take what? Minwon roughly pulled down his tie and smirked when he saw Suman's hand. Are you talking about that? The 5 million won? I asked you if you took it. So what if I did? Minwon brazenly loosened the rest of his tie and tossed it aside. It's all because of you. You bothered me by saying stupid things on the honeymoon, and I missed the time to buy shares. That cost me astronomically, but you're flipping out on your husband who came back from work over a measly 5 million won? Suman was flabbergasted. She threw the empty envelope at Minwon's feet. Why would you take that? Jiwon gave that to me. Does it matter who uses it? You were being so annoying over some pocket money. Where did you spend it? Bring it back now. Enough. Just ask Jiwon for more. While you're at it, ask her for 50 million won. Minwon said, no, just ask her for 500 million won. Suman laughed in disbelief. Are you in your right mind? She doesn't even have 100 million won. She doesn't, but her boyfriend does. Jiwon had already saved up 100 million won by purchasing the shares Minwon should have bought, but they had no way of knowing that. Boyfriend? Are you talking about Ji-hyuk Yoo? Suman asked. Yeah. Minwon hunched over to sit on the floor and tore up the crumpled envelope. Once, twice, thrice, pieces of the white envelope with Jiwon's handwriting floated down to the ground. That punk is from a royal family. He's the grandson of UNK's group's chairman, Hanol Yu. What kind of rumors have you been listening to? Suman denied it immediately. It had to be fake. There's no way something out of a dream would happen to Jiwon. It can't. I'm positive. Hanol Yu, Ji-hyuk Yu. Minwon's voice was full of certainty. Ji-hyuk even got her a place in the apartment he lives in. It looked like the two of them were playing house, living next door to each other. What a load of bullshit. How do you know that? Someone I know told me. Suman's face turned icier than when she discovered the empty envelope. Minwon didn't recognize the change in his wife as he complained angrily to himself. I knew it was strange when that incompetent bastard was department head. It wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for nepotism, he said. Fuck this world. If I had half of the connections he had, I wouldn't be living like this. Suman was stunned as she listened to him. Ji-hyuk Yu is the third generation of a conglomerate family, and he's dating Jiwon? Why? How? Her flowing thoughts froze at a specific memory in her head from a few months ago. You know Minwon is a good person. You can't find anyone like him elsewhere. Jiwon had been bragging about how kind, detailed, and handsome Minwon was. He's similar to age in Mr. Yu, but aren't they completely different? Mr. Yu has no flexibility. He divides his work and personal matters too strictly. He has no tact, only lives for work, and he's brisk and unkind. Jiwon had released an onslaught of gossip as if she had rehearsed it beforehand. That was the day Suman and Minwon slept together for the first time. Arrgh! She screamed hysterically. Minwon stopped grumbling and scanned Suman up and down like she'd been possessed. What the heck? Why are you being so noisy? Suman didn't even hear him. She got in between Ji-hyuk and me, knowing he was the chairman's grandson. She spoke badly of him in case things worked out between us, and she wanted him. Ji-hyuk was going to go out with me. He would have liked me if I'd gotten a little closer. Sure. Sure, bitch. You keep thinking that. Just because you were able to do it with all her other boyfriends. Suman wobbled and clutched Minwon's arm. Jiwon and Ji-hyuk? What's their relationship? Are they really dating? Are they going to get married? They aren't, right? How should I know? Minwon shouted and shoved her aside, already having developed a headache from the topic. Fuck! You put me in a shitty mood. I'm going to sleep, so get out. Suman was chased out of the bedroom. As soon as she began, she stared into space, sitting on the cold ground. She suddenly began smirking to herself. Jiwon always stabbed her in the back in ways she never imagined. No matter how much Suman stepped on her, Jiwon rose like a weed and crawled forward like a cockroach. Huh, so Jiwon was always stabbing you in the back? Sure, bitch, sure. The victim complex is crazy. You can't do that. Your mom cheated on a married man who has a daughter. She ran away, leaving you behind. So you need to be unhappy until you die. The clock hanging on the wall ticked. Suman hugged her knees and bit her forearm. Red teeth marks appeared on her white skin and soon became closer to purple. She heard snoring coming from the bedroom. Stopping her self-harm, she wobbled inside. Next to a sleeping Minwon, his blue flip phone buzzed. Ding! She suddenly felt like she had to see what it was. Possessed by her gut instincts, she opened Minwon's phone. I said I'll be in trouble if you release it, babe. Even if you feel wronged, the press is a no-no. The text was from a Yura O. The name was unfamiliar. Her mind turned blank and froze. She suddenly started sweating and her heart thumped. Suman rubbed her eyes and read the other text from Yura. Come to the hotel. They'll give you a key if you tell them my name. I love you. I like you so much. I miss you. Want to come now? It was an affair when it hadn't even been that long since they were married. Suman bit her lips so hard she drew blood and read Minwon's messages to Yura. I love you too. I'm going to meet Jiwon right now. I threatened her just like you said, but she won't listen. Should I just release this info now? This Ji-hyuk is engaged to my gorgeous baby, but he cheated on you with Jiwon? The first message Suman read was a response to Minwon's last text. Yura, I said I'll be in trouble too if you release it, babe. Even if you feel wrong, the press is a no-no. Suman quickly shut the phone. Her shadowed eyes flashed in the darkness. It's getting good again. These people are trash. Let's see what some of the comments are. Oh my God, this is a masterpiece. 3 delusional people living in their own fantasy worlds. 1. Suman, Ji-hyuk was never interested in you, honey, and you slept with your best friend's boyfriend because you wanted him, not because Jiwon tricked you. 2. Minwon, accusing Ji-hyuk of cheating on his fiancée while you're cheating on your own wife. Classy and hilarious. 3. Yura, creepy stalker psycho narcissist vibes, and I'm 100% sure the fiancé thing is made up. Oh, me too. That comment definitely deserves top comment. Okay, let's see what the other ones are. But I agree with everything they said. Can those 3 just grow up and take responsibility for their own actions? Yura's just a lying, cheating gold digger who Ji-hyuk wouldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole. Minwon is a goddamn hypocrite for condemning Jiwon for supposedly having an affair with an engaged man when he's sleeping with his said man's fiance while having a wife of his own. And let's not forget Miss Drama Queen, who can't handle the fact that Ji-hyuk would legit rather die than be in her presence. Just take a hint. Oh, these comments are eating. Okay. This delusional, psychotic bitch. Ji-hyuk didn't even bat an eye when she lay bleeding on the floor right under his nose. And he's been madly in love with Jiwon for years now. Also, the audacity to talk about Jiwon's mom when her own dad did the exact same thing. At least she had a loving dad, unlike her psycho mom. I'm glad she's getting cheated on by her trash husband, just as she did to Jiwon in the past. Right? Fuck this. Fuck both of them. Both of them motherfuckers. All 3 of them motherfuckers, actually.